If I had 10,000 tongues, I couldn't tell all that the Lord has done for me. So I'll keep on singing praise. Waiting for the sunshine. Waiting for the sunshine. Ooh, waiting for the sunshine. Waiting for the sunshine. Ooh, waiting for the sunshine. Waiting for the sunshine.
Let's do this.
Yo, 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 come on in. Take a seat to the Room 412 podcast. Where we just sit down, chill out, chop it up, you know, talk about real life issues, but through the Christian perspective. Yes. I am AJ Hawkins, your host, and this is episode 2. And I'm here with my lovely co-host. Start to my right, the lovely Kiara.
What's up, y'all?
After her husband, my boy, my brother, John.
Year was popping.
Mr. Old Busted and Disgusted over here. Mr. Chris Kendrick.
Mr. Extra Slimy.
Mr. Chris Kendrick over here. And next to him, his lovely wife.
Hey, y'all.
Sister Queen. Soprano Supreme. Marissa Kendrick. And here we go. The beautiful. You know what? You looking real graceful today. I see the grace on your shirt. Real beautiful.
Talk about it.
Lip gloss popping. You know, nice and oily. Love how your skin is looking.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I got to get my words of affirmation out
Talk
here.
about it. Talk about it.
All right. My wife, Samantha Hawkins. All right.
I'm Sam.
Yes, Samantha, my wife Samantha. And all right, we're going to get into our first topic today. Mm-hmm. That's our first topic. Okay. Our first topic, I'm sorry, I done scrolled all the way up. There you go. How to choose the right church. Mm-hmm. How to choose the right church. So, who wants to start this thing off?
I'll go.
Okay.
With starting with, I wouldn't say the question is how to choose the right church, but for me, it's kind of like what draws me to my church.
Right.
Because you can go visit a bunch of churches and they can offer most of the same things, but it's like what draws you to a particular church. And for me, I'm big on fellowship.
Yeah.
I think that's important. I love hanging out with people. Like, I'm family oriented, so I love creating that family kind of feel, and fellowship is important. So I think for me, of course the word and all of that, but I'm just saying an important part of picking a church is knowing that there is true fellowship. So I don't feel alone, right? Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? So I think for me, fellowship is important, and I won't take up all the reasons. Mm-hmm. So if somebody else wants to jump in.
How about we just go in order?
Mm-hmm. All right.
Oh, shoot. Okay.
Yeah. Get you in here real quick.
I don't know. I won't say it's a hard question for me to choose, but my church I've been a part of my entire life.
Right.
I didn't necessarily get to choose it for myself.
You was
I
born
kind
in.
of grew up in it.
Born
but
in
of course, yeah.
Jeez.
I've got a brick. Like you said, I got a brick in the church. But
Yeah.
But so I don't know. That's hard for me to answer straightforward. But
Okay,
I know
then
for
why
me,
you still
So what do you
here?
like? Yeah,
but
exactly.
I think why I'm still here. I
You don't know.
She does know.
Right. No, I was kidding. No, why I'm still here. One, fellowship is very important, but the family and orientation of everything, we really do take care and look out for each other.
Yeah.
And I think that's important, but also the importance of making sure the word is taught and taught well, and that we are even, and we have great guidance, great leadership.
Right.
I think that's a very big part, and that's a great reason why I'm still here. So I guess that's a big part.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Uncle Buck.
Music, man.
Oh, yeah.
That boy done took
Oh,
that.
yeah,
He done
too.
took my
The
thing.
music.
I gotta go to the next one. He done took
Yeah,
it.
you got to go back in the shed and think about that.
it's
That's
yours,
mine.
I just gotta go to my notes. I got a lot. Go ahead. I ain't gonna take a shot.
Nah, but me, See, I didn't come in meeting all of y'all. The only person that I did know was, I don't know, I did. I just got away from y'all. Because me and you went to middle school together.
True. Yeah.
We went to high school together.
And,
Me and you family. So the only person I met was her. But
y'all from
what
West,
I
y'all from
say
West
is-
Haven?
Huh?
So y'all from West Haven?
We
Yeah,
from West Haven.
Okay, relax,
It is.
relax.
West Haven up in here,
right.
West Haven. But one thing that drew me is because my mom always took us to the church where it was. And, you know, I was pooty. You're like, sit down. Stop doing this. Stop doing that. But then when I
he was
came of
pooty.
age,
Yeah.
no, but then when I came of age, I started seeking for myself.
Yeah.
So when I started seeking for myself, I started hanging with Stefan. Stefan was like, come to church with me. And I was like, well, look, because I was playing keys at my old church. Jermaine remembers, because I was playing at his church also. But I came, and it was just like
eye opener for you.
I was like, this is exactly what I'm looking for. Because I come from a church where it was nothing but old people.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
then I seen and then I came at the time when y'all was just coming in.
Yeah.
Y'all been there, what, like a year or two now? And then it was just mad young people.
Yeah.
And then the choir. And I'm
Yeah.
like, oh, I was like, oh, I got to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's important.
Yeah.
All right.
So I have a couple. So for one, music. Obviously, I'm really big into music, and I hate to say it because you're talking about church and, you know, God and all that stuff, but if that music ministry ain't right,
No.
I think it not get them bad
that's
notes
huge.
and all that
huge,
stuff.
though. That's huge.
I don't know. I can't really roll with that. And then even the type of music, I mean, some of y'all been with me in the world. I'm a big dancer, like, you know, in the streets, I guess. I'm a big dancer. I'm always somebody first on the dance floor and all that stuff. So, like, you know, I gotta have music that's like bumping, like, you know, the people and the vibe. You gotta have people that, cause like, you know, growing up, we was always in church, like every day, you know, growing up, every day of the week, Monday through Sunday, like, you know. So if you there, you in church more than you was school, work, everything. So, you know, you gotta enjoy the people that's around you. And then we became a family.
Right.
Like, you know, like sometimes like this family was bringing to my family, not my immediate family, but you know, I seen them more than everybody else. So
Right.
yeah, and then also the preaching style. The preaching style is big.
Yeah.
Yes.
Preaching
Yeah, that
style
was
is
another thing
big.
for me,
Yeah.
Preaching.
Like our pastor,
Yeah.
he's the best of both worlds.
Yes.
So it's like, you know, he's very knowledgeable. He's a teacher, you know, first and foremost. So you're gonna learn, you know. And then, you know, he see you sleeping a little bit. He gonna make you laugh. You know, some people out there laughing like
He
it's
gonna
Def Comedy
draw you,
Jam or something like that.
yeah.
You feel me? With his analogies and all that stuff. You know, exactly. And then after that, he gonna hoop it out. He gonna and then he gonna pour that gravy on it. You feel me? So, you know, make it digestible. So I mean, those are my like 4 things.
Yeah.
My thing obviously is music because I'm a musician.
Are you now?
Yeah, well I try. I'm a practicing musician.
Oh, wow.
Now you practice.
Yeah, I'm a practicing musician.
You just went off on
Exactly. You see how he do me?
Every now and then you gotta get humbled. You know what I'm saying?
it.
So I'm a practicing musician. But I'm like Rissa, so came from Shiloh. It was my uncle's church. I didn't get to choose that church.
Yeah.
Then my dad got his church in Bridgeport. Didn't get to choose that church. And then we came here. So I never really had a thought of what it would take for me to join a church. But as I get older, I look at some of the things that kept me, right? So F, obviously, we grew up in church together.
Yeah.
Young people there all the time. Every time we came to church, it was literally a block party after every youth rehearsal.
Basketball team.
Yeah.
Basketball team.
Yeah.
That fellowship.
Praise
I
dance.
danced.
Praise
I
dance.
was
I was
a
about to say
praise dancer. I know. Come on.
Ew, you was a praise.
Hey.
It was more like Like drill, right? Like
It was drill.
Step in. What?
I did some. We had a Jamaican dance one time. I was going
Oh,
for it.
you was doing that.
Yeah.
Ponytail.
I was like, yeah.
Dirty white.
Hey, chill.
bugging.
Everything about that.
But I was going crazy. Yeah, I was going crazy.
Do your thing, baby.
But yeah, like just but through that I learned the importance of fellowship and having lifelong friends. That now as our children are growing up, all of our children are super close. And then, so forth and so on. So definitely music. If I was a drummer though, if I was not a drummer,
Interesting.
You be encoding.
no, I just don't think
No, because he's been talking about doing coding. And I was like,
I would be in church. Not from a standpoint
So you
of
don't
like
think you'd be in church?
no. Like I think that was
Like,
the thing that kept me, right?
In
So,
church. You think you'd still be a Christian?
Yeah, I'd still be a Christian, but I don't think I'd be in church. Like when you're a musician, you kind of just do it all. Like you're not like a lay member, so like you got to go to all the fellowship service. You got to, if you sing, our choir was traveling all over the place. You got to go to these things. Whereas you have other people who just come to church on Sunday, right? I don't think that lifestyle would work for me. So if I didn't have drums, I don't think I would be in church. So drumming.
I'll go back to that point after Kiara goes because I got a question.
Okay.
I got a question.
But on the other side of that, music, it's a little different now, but growing up, all the young boys and some girls in some instances would sit around the drums or the organ or the keys and waiting for an opportunity. So not just music from a standpoint of watching or listening to music as a member for the choir, but just waiting for that opportunity to play. You know what I'm saying? So if it wasn't for music, I don't know. But music is definitely big.
Yeah.
It's my turn.
It's your turn.
Okay, so for me, it's definitely the familiar feeling. As like most of us said, we didn't really get a chance to choose our church. Like I was just born in it. Like one day I just came to, oh hey, this is my church. Like,
Did
type
you go
thing.
where your parents go?
Yes, and so it was music. Music. I've been singing since I was like 6.
Yep.
So all I know is music. That was my first connection with church is music, right? And then the different genre of music. So before, I was just one genre, like hard-hitting quartet.
Yeah.
I'm a huge quartet fan. My God, I am. But then I got exposed with Stefan.
Same thing.
Yeah,
Choir.
and he choir music and stuff like that. So it was that. The fellowship. The fellowship. I like, being close knit.
Yeah.
I like that. I love how it was family oriented as well. It's a lot of families. And then the same faces, like, they're young. We're the same age and we come to the same place and, we worship and stuff like that. And definitely the word. Because you could get you some pastors that just be preaching above your head.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
and don't break down nothing. They just up there. And,
Or tell you what you want to hear.
Exactly.
And not really preaching the Bible.
Exactly. So I had, I have that, in my church. So those are my things.
All right. So to go back to what I was going to say about John. So like you said, you wouldn't really go to church like that if you weren't a drummer. Why do you think that is? I know a lot of times we see, men, where you see men in the church our age, if they're not in the music ministry, they're not in church. Like, you got the older people, the deacons, and, the leaders, clergy, and all that stuff. And then younger men, 30s and down, you feel me? Like, if you're not a musician, you're not in church.
I feel like specifically the black church is geared and designed for women. One thing that we do have here with my dad is he always says he's solution based, right? So if there's an issue, he likes to find a solution. He doesn't like to spend too much time on the issue. And I think that is a masculine trait. So he attracts masculine men, right? So that's why growing up, we had 20, 25 young men that was able to look up to him and see what it meant to be like a real man, because he wasn't just preach like a lot of times in black church it's a lot of emotionalism, and we know that typically emotionalism is a woman's trait and more logical and straightforward as a man's trait typically. So a lot of times in church they rely a lot on emotionalism, especially black church. But here we kind of get the both, right? So I think that's why a lot of times, to answer your question, a lot of times in churches that age group doesn't really exist, because men typically don't want to be pacified, and be super emotional. We want solutions to our problems. We want like practical answers to
the vulnerability
you know what I'm saying?
of it.
Vulnerability and practicality. Like, pastor will say, hey, this is wrong, or if this is what the Bible says, this is how you get there, right? Typically, some churches spend too much time on what the issue is, and then
that's true,
right? Or they're super traditional, and this is just what it is, and I don't care what you're going through. Right. So he has a happy medium where, how do we get from point A to point B, just as a Christian, and then more specifically the way he goes about it, he's able to talk to both men and women, and it helps that
and
he's
young
married
people.
and young
Yeah,
people.
yeah.
And it helps that he's married. My mom can help guide him sometimes with how to go.
Or you could just look at him and just see how they interact with each other.
Right, and it's a good example.
Exactly.
See how
That's
they
true too.
Right.
complement
So
each
when you
other.
come to the church as a man, and I always use like my brother's like the complete opposite of me. So like when I'm talking about how churches reach certain people, my brother is typically who I use for an example. When you can reach and minister to someone like that, and we've had countless members that fall in that. Y'all know my brother. So we've had countless members that fall into that type of.
Shout out to Matt.
Yeah, shout out to my bro. But when you can minister to those people through the word, through all that stuff that we do in church, and you're still able to get the word to him, that's big to me. You know what I'm saying? So to answer your question, I think that's what it is. I think black church typically, actually specifically, sometimes it's too emotional. So that age group, black strong men or strong men, period, we don't really vibe with it.
Speaking of brothers, I said last podcast that I was gonna shout this man out, but I didn't do it again. So shout out to the man behind the screens, my brother-in-law, Jermaine. I forgot.
That's a
My
Jermaine.
bad.
AKA Banger.
My bad.
His wife Brianna.
But my sister. But but also I think to piggyback on what you said too. I remember last podcast we were talking about like examples and representation and all that stuff. I think also there's like a disconnect with men. Like I said, when you come into church, your examples of what you see the old guys. Old guys, old Baptists, outlining hymns and all that stuff. There's really no cool dude our age. Like, because I think, because we were talking about before, like, a lot of people think that Christianity, like, once you become a Christian, is boring and all that stuff. So it kind of really don't. And then you know how it is, too, as a young dude. You're looking for females, you feel me, and all that stuff. And it's kind of like, we don't really talk about dating in church and how you should approach a woman and all that stuff. So when you talk about church, so when you talk about church, it's automatically, y'all ain't, stay away from her because y'all ain't gonna have sex. Like, you feel me? So it's like, well, if I can't talk to none of these women in church, because y'all gonna, you feel me? I'm out of here. Like, so I think that's another thing. You gotta, because we talking about men, and you got, all right, cool. All right. So, all right, we're gonna move on. I actually had a segue to the choosing your church. Do you think, what are you guys' opinion on leaving a church? Leaving the church. Do you think
I left my church to come to this church.
Okay, all right, wait. So initially, we were all over here. I mean, all on this pod. We pretty much went to the churches that our family was at because we were children. Some people, their family didn't go to church, so their first church is the church that they chose. But we didn't choose our churches. I know you two. You said this wasn't your church. You two, you guys came here because you married us. once you
came here for the
actually,
No, I came here for.
oh yeah.
No,
right.
But once you guys actually choose your home churches,
Right.
when you choose them, God sent me here.
Yeah.
Do you think, whether you think God sent you here or not, do you think you can leave and go to another church? Or you think God can send you here for a season and then he takes you out and he can take you
season. If
somewhere
you're-
else?
if you're-
Like, what do you guys is?
If your mission is complete there,
Yeah.
Okay, expound
Yeah,
upon that.
that was
So do
good.
you feel like,
what?
I said expound upon that. So you feel like if you said,
but
if God sends you to a place, you finish your mission and then now you're released to go to another church? That's what you're saying? But like, yo,
Yeah.
I'm here. Like, yo, God sent me here.
I'm not rolling.
no, I wouldn't say it as far as like coming in the building and just be like,
So you don't
done
believe
God sent me here. God, your will is done in this church.
I'm out. Like,
It ain't like that. I'm just saying, like in general, like
I can say starting from young, right? So I was born into to the church that I went to. Wasn't my choice, but my family was there. I think for me, it was the initial reason why I left church, because I did, was because I was in church so much.
yeah.
Like
Yeah.
when I was a kid, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday,
Wow.
revivals, like
Every day.
Sunday, 2 services,
Yeah.
like So for me, when I got old enough to make my own decision, I said I'm not going. I still believed in God. I still, knew right from wrong. I still was like conflicted sometimes, but for me, it was like I made the decision not to go, and then I went again. And the church I went to, it was just not for me. Like, I went from a church that was extremely radical to a church that was dry.
And why did you?
No
why
words.
did you?
what church
Why did
was
you?
that?
No.
I'm gonna expound upon. No, but like, so we're talking about choosing your church. So expound upon why you ended up at that dry church.
It was a relationship that I was in.
Okay.
So it was
Okay.
like, I feel like in any type of relationship, having a spiritual connection is important.
Exactly.
And
Very.
so for me, it was, let me explore this spiritual connection, right? He goes to this church, I'm going to go too. But for me, I wasn't used to a church like that.
Yeah.
It was more, and I'm not down in Bible study. I love Bible study, but it was more Bible study on a Sunday morning for me. And like we mentioned, music is important.
Yeah.
Bible study on Sunday morning.
No,
But
she was
what
saying
it
that's what it was
felt-
like.
That's what it felt like to me. So it kind of turned me off a little bit, and not because it was strictly like word, but there was no oil. Like I just didn't feel like it was.
That's important.
I don't feel like it was for
Yeah,
me.
'cause my skin was
Very.
dry.
And then there were some things, that the pastor would do that I just felt like
Wasn't
wasn't
right.
biblical. Like
Yeah.
it was unnecessary, and it just turned me off. So I stopped going again. And it wasn't until I met AJ where he's coming here, and I mean I was bragging, like I'm like, I'm like my boyfriend's in a choir, like at the time. So
That
for
boy
me,
don't
that
sing
was,
no
that
more.
was big for me, So yeah, and I came here, and I remember the exact Sunday I joined. It was the first time I ever shouted in church.
Now you can't sit down.
Wait, the first time you ever shouted was at our church?
Hey, now you can't sit there.
No,
Oh.
here.
Shouted here.
No,
Oh,
Shouted
okay.
here.
Oh,
And I can't remember the word. It was years ago. I've been here for a long time. But since 2012 to be exact. But it was like he spoke to me,
that was a
literally.
good year.
Yeah.
And I feel like when you go to a church, you can visit as many churches as you want. But when you go and then that word is for you,
Destination.
and it
Yeah.
speaks directly to your situation, it breaks you down, like
Yeah.
emotionally, spiritually. Like you just feel like all this joy and everything. Like that's it. Like I feel
That's
like-
home.
And I
Yeah.
said it was for me, and he didn't know I was gonna raise my hand and join the church. He was, he was as surprised as everybody else was. But that's what it was for
Take
me.
your word for it. I don't remember.
So.
That's dope.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's fire.
Y'all, anybody else want to go? Because I know he about to go in. So
Wait,
yeah, anybody else?
I'm going on the wall.
You talking about because you talking about leaving the church, and I kind of know how you feel.
You say you
So I
want
know,
to
I know
go?
you
Nah,
gonna,
I'm
I know you
not
gonna
gonna
go.
go
But hold
crazy.
on, about the, you.
Go ahead.
I mean, you
Go
gonna go
ahead.
crazy? Because like
I'm not gonna go crazy.
No,
I know you got something to say. So I mean, you wanna go first?
I don't know. I don't really know what I think about that. I don't
Yeah.
really know.
It's mixed
Well,
feelings too.
It is
Like,
because I do feel like there are stages and phases in people's life where you are in this place for a reason and
Yeah.
then you're finished.
I agree.
I don't
Yeah.
think, but I don't think it's how people make it seem like, oh my gosh, the Lord sent me here, and once I'm
that's what I'm
done,
saying
it's done,
before.
and then
It
it's
ain't-
this
Yeah, like
big
real spooky,
exit.
like,
yeah.
I don't think it's like that. I think if it's a real mission, you move how God tells
like
you
organic.
to move. Like, you know,
Yeah,
it's
for
not
sure.
like I'm not going here no more because the Lord told
Because
me
you
to
don't
move.
know how God told
Like,
them to move.
Like,
Right.
you know what I mean? So
You don't.
So
What
you
you
know,
mean?
I don't think it's like that.
What if he was wanted them to be like, all right, I'm joining this church, but I'm gonna be full on in this church, but
To
I'm
make it
also-
better.
But they end up bringing something to the church that benefits the church. But then when they bring it, it's like they don't take it with them; they leave it there.
But you gotta
then,
think
like,
about it,
probably
too.
Like 2
You
years
gotta-
later, they're
But
out.
right, but you have to think about that too. Pastors do it all the time.
So you think it's like a job?
pastor-
It's like a job.
It's
Like you
it's like
go
a temporary
It's
contract.
still their
Yeah, like you
Yeah.
go
I'm
in.
here to elevate, do whatever I have to do here, and then the Lord's gonna send me somewhere else.
I think it's different when it becomes messy.
that's what I'm
Yeah.
saying.
That's-
I don't
that's-
think
I
it's a
think
big
that's
thing.
the
Like when people
difference.
make this big exit or this
Yeah.
big arrival.
Come on, John. What?
Like
I'm
I just
I'm
think-
listening.
That was gonna be my.
He
I
real
had a
enough.
part.
I
had
feel
a part
it.
Really
two
not.
to
I'm
this
chilling.
too, but I know.
I'm really. Chilling.
I just
I'm about to
think
say
it's-
land real quick, and then we're gonna let John go.
I'm not saying.
Well,
I'm
because
just listening.
no, I
I'm
am
not gonna say
landing.
anything.
That's just how I feel about it. I just think that is people make it bigger than what it is. Like typically, you could just move in silence. You don't have to let everybody know what you're here for.
Yeah.
When you become
Yeah,
vocal
sure.
about it because
Yeah,
you
you
feel
don't
like
gotta. You don't gotta be
becomes
like,
more
oh,
about
the
you.
Lord sent
My
me here. Like,
purpose was.
Yeah, you
this,
don't gotta
and
do
now-
all of
now
that.
I'm done.
God also said,
What he said?
Lord, here comes.
You gonna fact check?
what he said exactly.
Oh,
But he said
So you're paraphrasing.
something about if you praise me in private, I'll bless you in private.
no,
public.
openly.
I mean, openly. Yeah.
So
I mean,
It's
that could cover a lot of things.
Like,
It's all right. It's all right. It's all right. But
what you mean.
yeah, we know what you mean. It's good. It's
I know what you're
good.
saying. That
You're trying to connect it to like if you move in silence, you know.
Yeah. Because you don't because it says
Like we were
don't-
talking last night,
because
do it
I
with your
just-
heart.
No, because I was just reading the Bible not too long ago.
Yeah.
Because I had asked Donald. Hey Donald. I had asked Donald. I needed a scripture. I couldn't find it, and then when I asked him, I told him what it was about, and he sent me a message like 10 minutes later and was like, "Hope this finds you well." Sure enough, exact thing I was looking for. I was like, "Dang!" But it was talking about how like don't blow trumpets when you do something.
I just read
Yeah.
something like
Okay,
that
yeah.
too. Yeah.
That
Yeah,
makes
so
yeah.
you coming in there like they're like for should I say it?
Nope.
No.
No,
So
probably
you
not.
pretty much like because when you start talking, you feel like you feel like it's more
No,
about you
about
than
it,
about
no.
God,
It
right?
wasn't nothing. It wasn't nothing like it was something that I did.
You want to be vulnerable real quick?
You want to be
I
a
was
little
gonna,
open.
I was gonna be humble, but I don't want it to be like something where it's like.
Go ahead, say it because we just gonna cut. We just gonna cut it out.
Cut it out if it get crazy.
All right. So basically, what happened was I was in a position where I was at the diner in West. I mean, what's that?
Westville.
Westville. I was that new diner over there. I was over there, and me, Stefan, Rissa, and her brother and his girl, they was together. We was all just chilling, watching TV. I mean, eating and stuff. And then all of a sudden, this kid came up to me, but he was like, "Yo, your sweater is so fire." But then I was wearing. I don't know if you ever seen that. I have this black cardigan. It's like fuzzy kind
Yeah,
of.
yeah,
looking
yeah.
like-
Yeah.
Yeah, he was like, "Yo, that's so fire," or whatever. I was like, "What's that website? Fashion Nova." And he was like, "Word." He was like, "I wish I had me one or whatever." And in my head, I said, "You want this?"
Yeah.
But I didn't give it to him
couldn't do
because
it.
in my head I was going, "No, he can't fit it anyway."
you was cool.
But it's not. But it's not up to me to know whether he can fit it or not.
Yeah.
My job is to complete the task.
That's it.
Because it was
Chris,
in my
you better
heart to
let the
give it
Lord
to him.
use you.
Yeah.
No, it was in my heart to give it to him. I didn't. Then I went home,
Got
and
convicted.
it was still
It
in my
bothered
head.
you.
And I said,
That
Rissa,
thing,
and I
that
went,
thing
you know where I
that thing.
live. I live over there. I went back to Westville just to give him that sweater.
See,
So you gave it to him.
Yeah,
Wow.
same day.
you got to complete the task.
That was
Yeah.
it.
The Lord used you that day to bless someone else, and you
love
don't
that.
even know what's gonna come out of that.
I know that, but I did. I was like, I don't want to say nothing because I ain't trying to toot no horns or
Right,
sound no
and you're not
trumpet.
even
Right.
expecting
You're not doing
anything.
I mean, you don't
I'm
gotta
not.
say nothing.
no,
I mean,
you don't have to. The Lord's gonna bless you for that.
He is.
Yeah.
But yeah,
That's dope.
So
Yeah.
You want?
Listen.
Nah, you don't have to. I'm saying if you want to
My
go
thing
before you
is,
move on.
I just don't. I'm not rolling. I'm not gonna make it a big thing, but I just don't believe in leaving. Right? I'm not a theologian. Didn't read all the Bible, but I read quite a bit of it, and in a lot of examples in there, I see of the leaders and some of the people. There's no end. You get what I'm saying? A lot of times with us, right? Those what you call it, those reasons, those reasons to leave typically isn't God. You know what I'm saying? Like, fam.
But how can
You about to go into my question,
But how
too.
can you determine that?
Who?
You just said it's not of God. Like, how can you determine? Are you talking about the people that are openly telling you why they want to leave, like saying why they're leaving a church, or is it speculation? Like, how do you determine?
Because, like I said last pod, sometimes, for me, when you read the Bible and you kind of understand, you start reading more about God, you kind of understand how He works.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So a lot of times people just be saying stuff because it's cliche, and that's not. God don't work like that.
Yeah.
Facts.
You know what I'm saying?
That's
So,
true.
Facts.
Countless stories in the Bible where people were asking God, like, "Yo, fam, like, I'm good, I'm done, like, I don't want to do that," or I did what you told me to do, and God was like, "Yo, well, we're gonna just take another step, and we're
Yeah.
gonna continue to go in this direction." Go ahead.
But because you said end, when these people in the Bible, God clearly gave them missions to complete, so there is an end. He just sends them on a new task. You understand what I'm saying?
Right, but the new task in my brain, the new task is contingent upon the previous task. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So
It doesn't mean that it doesn't have to be connected. Like, it's not supposed to be connected.
just for an example, right? If Moses just freed the people from Egypt, if you continue to read, there's mad other stuff that he wanted relief from, that he could have said, "Y'all got him out of Egypt, and we got him over here to where they was going." I can't remember right now, but I got him to where they was going. The guy's like, "No, now we going to the promised land."
Right.
Now these people, the same people that you sent me here to do, now they're acting up. You know what I'm saying? So now, we all know the story. Moses gets mad and he can't go. But now Joshua has it. So what would have been Moses' task once he crosses over into the promised land?
It could have been complete. We would never know.
We would never know, but there's other instances where I feel like God tells people to keep going.
Right.
So-
but God can use Moses. Moses' job in this instance was to free the people from Egypt, get them to the promised land, right? That's what we're saying.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So that doesn't mean he do that with this one group of people, and then he can't, the next group of people, it has to be a different task. God can use you to do the same task repeatedly. You can have an end of one task, of that task, and then start a new task. You know what I mean?
Yep, that's true.
So that's why I don't understand. Like, if you say leave, we're using end, but end is the
leave.
substitution for the leave.
Right.
So I can say, you know what? I don't know what to use for an example. I'm not good with analogies, but God can use me to, I don't know, something simple, to be the praise and worship leader for this session, and to get the praise team to another level, right? And then once we've reached that level, he can say, okay, you're done here. Now I need you to take that same thing that you did here and bring it to somewhere else and help this person get to another level. But I left. I still left. I didn't stop doing what God assigned me to do.
So that's the not messy way.
But if
You
he
know what I'm
assigns
saying?
you to a group of people, you get what I'm saying? So I think
I'm good. But who said these group of people is not everywhere? Who said these group of people
It's
has
just
to be
one
in
place.
this one place?
Right.
Yeah. That's true.
Yeah, that'll be dependent on your mission.
Right. So
Right.
you leave.
But we were talking about
That's like saying Bloods and Crips only in Compton.
right. But we were talking about church. We were talking about
not the same
church.
thing.
So if you go to a church, typically,
Yeah.
right, you are assigned. We're not talking about, yo, the Lord wants me to have a homeless ministry. That's real broad. There's homeless people all over the place. But if you say, yo, God brought me to this church to do something here, I just feel like if He assigns a group of people to you,
So he did assign the group of people to you. He gave you a homeless ministry to help the homeless. He didn't say it has to be in one place.
Right.
So I can't.
No. I'm saying if you were having a homeless ministry, right? That's something that's broad.
Right.
That doesn't necessarily mean something. But if you say, if God gives you a ministry, He says, "Yo, I want to help unemployment Black people in New Haven, Connecticut." That's
still broad.
I know, but that doesn't end. You're assigned to this place. What you guys are saying, if you be like, okay, God's moving me to San Francisco,
Those are specific missions that we're talking about.
right? But that's the same thing with a church, no?
No.
I'm just asking.
But I mean,
No.
I think.
so it's like, all right. So I think it'd be a little bit different. Like, all right, so God sent me to this church to. So do you believe when you get sent to a church, is it could it just be to go there to learn, fellowship, and all that stuff, without a specific mission? Like, I'm going here to maximize the media ministry. Like,
Right, but I also believe, and it's just my personal belief, I also believe that there is a order. So God's not going to send someone to a place where they don't match the vision.
Yeah.
Right? So
And also, you're going to use your gifts wherever you go, type of thing, too.
Right. So certain churches have certain assignments. You know what I'm saying? So
Absolutely.
for you going to certain churches, you would have to fall in place. Because you can't come in there with your own vision if there's already a vision in place.
So I have a question also. So you go wherever your father goes. You're a PK.
I was gonna go there.
I say you're a PK. So
Go there.
Yep.
their instance, his instance, we grew up in the church.
Mhm.
So now what if I grow up in a church that's quote unquote boring to me? You know, God knew I was going to be at this church because I was born in with my parents. Is it okay for me to leave that church once I become of age? Or do I have to stay in that church because that is my church? God could have called me to be at that church because the God put my parents there and I grew up in there.
But were you?
Like
Were you called?
Right.
if your dad wasn't the pastor, would you have stayed at this church? Do you think it would have been acceptable for you to leave, or do you think that you should have just stayed there because your parents are here?
So I said that's a whole different perspective, and that's
Right.
what I was gonna ask
Like-
too,
Yeah.
because we all have different perspectives
Right.
because of experience.
Right.
So
Right.
Y'all
it's like,
equally yoked.
So me and my husband. Oh yeah.
Oh, yeah, talk about it.
So it was
Talk
gonna
about
be it was gonna be like not how could you have that perspective, but
Girl, good.
the difference but the difference between the fact is that you never could choose your church, right? So of course leaving is not an option for you specifically.
Right.
And then also,
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 it puts
what about
us-
this
it
too?
also
What about
puts
this
a
too?
stain on
What
you,
about this
too.
too? So she
Wait.
said preachers. What about musicians?
Right.
So,
You drum for your dad.
Right,
There's drummers that drum for multiple churches.
right.
Like you hire a new drummer, like you feel me?
So,
Go get another job.
They do their assignments and they go on to
well,
the next.
Musicians,
those
yeah.
are a few different things. So, first thing, because it's the easiest one to answer, musicians, me being a musician, even I do play for my father, I kind of understand how the market works. You're an employee. You know what I'm saying? There are some musicians that make homes of the churches they play at because
Yeah.
they fall in love with the people. The word is great, but essentially you're an employee. So you go there, it's fee for service, and you do what you have to do, and then you move on. However, if you align yourself with that church, and I do feel like there's a part of obligation and faithfulness that you should have. So that's the musician part. That part is I don't have an option to leave because I feel like I've accepted an assignment.
Yeah.
You understand what I'm saying?
Okay.
So the option to leave, while it does exist, because we're human and we have free will,
Right.
it doesn't make sense to do it because, or you wouldn't be fulfilled. You get what I'm trying
Was
to
there
say?
a time you thought of leaving?
No, because me personally, not because he's my father, but
I'm about to say, is it because you have emotional attachment?
no, I'm very
That's your dad, so
I'm
you're
very
not gonna let your dad.
I have an objective personality where I can just call things what it is. But because I've seen seen other pastors. Because it's my dad, he's communicated to me about different things on the other side of the church, and I've seen another side of the church that most people don't see.
Right.
So I'm able to stand firm, not just because he's my father, but I could say he's a man of God with integrity, and I don't mind being behind him. But as a son, right, I feel like, and this is kind of another conversation, but in leadership, if you do have children as pastors' kids or young people, like, we came to my dad at the top of COVID and says, yo, we could shoot services.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? We
Right.
could just shoot services. This is the new technology. We have expertise in this area. We can help to do this. There's a lot of people that, even though they had the means, did not do that. And they were stuck in what they were trying to do.
So I had a question, and I'm glad you mentioned that because my question was based off of that. So I wanted to kind of get you guys' take on like how the culture of church has changed because of the pandemic. And you had that question too?
Yeah, nah, but I be saying that.
Yeah.
I think it's changed for
It's
the worse.
changed, but it's changed
I
for the
think
worse.
I think so too. I agree.
Worse.
Yeah.
It's
I think-
so worse.
It just created an incentive for nobody to be here.
Yeah.
Like
Nobody to come
Wait,
for
the
nobody to
pandemic
come.
or just church culture?
No, pandemic.
pandemic,
Pandemic?
yeah.
Okay.
But it just
I think that already was an issue, but the pandemic gave people a reason.
Yeah.
So I
Yeah.
kind of have a different perspective.
I don't know. I feel like Pastor says say it all the time. You know, they kept the liquor stores open for mental health, but they were so adamant about the churches
closing
closing,
the churches,
and little do they know, this is where we get our mental health.
exactly.
You know?
Exactly.
And so I just feel like I don't know. It was just backwards to me, really and truly.
I feel like it shook the church.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
for
feel
sure.
that
It got rid of dead weight.
well, yeah,
Oh,
like that's what I'm
yeah.
saying. So this
That's
is
true.
what I think, right? I think a lot of people are looking for a reason not to go to church.
Right.
I think oftentimes what happens is church becomes a routine. So once you broke that routine, and then everybody stayed at home, it gave people a reason to stay at home.
Yeah.
And it was hard for them to
Yep.
come back to church.
Yeah.
But I think two things happened. I think one, the people that came back, they want to come back, so they're looking for something from God, right? And then number two, what happened since everybody went virtual? I think there's became like this massive outpush of internet preachers and
Yeah.
That's true too.
Content
inspirational
creators.
people,
Yeah.
content
Yeah.
creators, and all that stuff. So you're getting a lot more information
But you're getting
online.
confused,
But I'm
too.
about to say but then
That's
also.
Everybody has
But I
the
say
same
also,
agenda.
you're also
Yeah.
getting
Confusion.
these people that aren't really here for
Yeah.
God's purpose,
And who
So,
aren't called.
Yeah,
Right.
Like,
so
but they
That
feel called. Like,
Yeah.
I
you
think
know?
I think it shook.
Yeah.
I think it shook it up, and it made people really look in the mirror. I think a lot of people was like, wait, do I need to go to church?
Right.
Like a lot of
right.
Christians.
Yeah.
Like, so it
And
made
the
you really
unbelievers.
reflect. It really
Oh,
made
yeah.
you
And the
reflect.
unbelievers.
Well, some unbelievers, I think, and that's another. Now the flip side of that, a lot of unbelievers who I don't think who weren't going to church. I think a lot of them came to church. Like it reshifted things. So it's like you said, dead weight. I think in a lot of churches, a lot of people left,
Yeah.
and you had new members. I think
Come
it's
in.
a rebirth of some
Yeah.
people's churches.
Yeah.
I think a lot of churches upgraded.
Yeah.
Like you said, technology and all that stuff, and a lot of the old churches, faded away. So I think it's just like a shift that happened. I don't think it's necessarily for the worst. I just think Christians have a greater responsibility now to push the gospel.
Absolutely.
But if all the Christians ain't coming to church, how they pushing the gospel?
That's what I'm saying. I'm talking about the people who are there.
Oh,
Right.
Yeah, we gotta.
It's a
Because
lot of
like I
work.
said, so like church was kind of like it's like a hobby. Like everybody was just coming. Like, yeah, I went to church, blah 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 blah. blah.
Yeah.
So and now everybody's gone, and it's like, oh, we got to get them back. Now we gotta, put the boots on, strap up, and be like, all right, we gotta get these people back in here.
Or you can just see who was for formality.
Yeah, but
and
you
who
still
really
got.
was
But I'm
seeking.
saying you got to bring these people back in here.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like you gotta go out and get them.
That's-
now,
and I think to add to that, and the topic of what makes a good church, I think being able to bring your creative ability
That
and
too,
your
yeah.
gifts
Yeah.
to your
Yeah.
church.
And be used.
And
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Absolutely.
I
And
think
that's-
that's
But that was my point with
Right.
you asking about my option to leave.
Yeah.
I know personally some pastors' kids who have to leave their parents' church because their gifts aren't being able to be used.
Yeah.
You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? So
That
a big
sucks.
part of your finding a church, especially for me, and especially with me being a creative and me being someone who tends to think outside the box about way to do things. I go to my dad and I be like, "Yo, I think we should do this." You know what I'm saying? Or I think we should do this, or we should try this. AJ's done that. Jermaine has done that.
Yeah.
Chris has done that. And he'll say, Kiara, we all have
Yeah,
done
we've
it.
all done it.
And he says, sometimes he'll be like, yo, that's fine, let's do it. Or sometimes he'll be like, no. But with a church that's
Or let me
able
think
to be,
about it.
let
Then
me
he
think
don't-
about
and then he
it.
don't text you
Yeah,
back.
Yeah, that too. That too. But being flexible as a church, I think,
Right.
is important.
It's very important.
Because I don't know if it was this pod or last pod, but we were talking about how the word lives and the word extends and transcends generation. The church has to be able to do that too.
Yeah.
Right.
I think a lot of times the big thing with COVID is
What do you mean by transcend?
transcend, just go through time.
Yeah.
You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? And it has to be
Yeah.
able to continue to go on. So with the pandemic, the churches that weren't willing to
They had
Got
to.
left
They
behind.
got left. They got left behind.
Absolutely.
essentially.
Yeah.
You know what I'm
Absolutely.
saying?
And some of them closed down.
Yeah,
Yeah.
They did.
Yeah.
A lot of them.
So I think
Yeah.
that's important to just go back to the original question of why I don't agree that you should leave. I think that you should find a niche. Now, I'm not talking about stubborn leadership. I'm not talking about that. But if you find yourself a church home where they're flexible, blah, 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 all the things we said previous to that, then now if you have something that you can offer to your church as a ministry, you should be able to go to your leader and say, hey, I want to do this. You know what I'm saying? And then within that ministry, within that church, you should be able to operate in your gift.
Right.
Now, I just don't believe that there's a completion date on that. I just don't believe that. I think that if you're allowed to do that in your ministry, our task doesn't end.
I think the word completion is like ending and the word completion and ending is throwing you off. There's
Okay.
sessions.
Well, how would you know you
just
complete
say
anyway?
sessions.
Okay, so growth, right?
Which
so,
more seasons?
Well, season sessions.
Right. Like,
Don't say
can you
seasons to me.
outgrow your
I
church?
know. I'm saying seasons because everything.
Can you
Yeah.
outgrow your
Can you
church?
outgrow your church?
I feel like you can.
Outgrow.
I don't believe
Like
that.
in what sense outgrow?
In the sense that you're there and you're not getting anything. Like you were getting stuff when you first
So-
got there, and now it's like I'm not getting nothing. I'm not growing. I'm not feeling nothing. So
I don't
it's
think
like,
so. I think that you should be able to go to your leader and say, "Yo, this is one of the reasons why when I brought Room 412 to my dad, he was like, "Yo, that's a dope idea," because he gets a first hand on what some of the things that we hear with our peers, and we get to talk about it, and just us having a dialogue. He gets to really understand how we think. A lot of times we have church,
Yeah.
we have a meeting,
Yeah.
and he doesn't really get to hear how our inner minds think about what he's saying, about what the Bible says. So he gets a first hand on what we're doing. So if you're not getting what you're supposed to get, I feel like you're supposed to go to your leader, go to
Yeah.
your pastor, and say, hey, what are some things I can do to grow? You know what I'm saying? Like we have,
Everybody doesn't have a great pastor. Like
right?
that.
Like
And I
that's
think-
that's
Yeah.
Like
important.
our relationship
Right,
that we
right.
have with our pastor is like unheard
You can
of.
say you
Yeah.
got a good relationship,
But you ain't
until
really
you
got
actually
it.
met our pastor,
Experience.
Yeah, you have to
Experience
experience
him.
him. Yeah.
like,
I think it's
you
contingent.
do not.
I think those things are contingent upon. I think once you find the right one. I think.
Right.
Yeah.
Because I
Right.
feel like, do you feel that, and then we're gonna move on because we got a little bit more to do, but that you could choose the wrong church.
You could choose
I
the
think
wrong
because
church
people,
for wrong,
you go to church. You're talking about one
wrong reasons.
All right, so people go around, to different churches looking for your church, and then you feel like you found your church, and so you join your church, and then you find like this might not be
I
for
don't
me.
really like the fellowship.
Like
They
you
don't
ain't,
really
you ain't even been a
fellowship,
month
or
yet,
they
but it's
don't
like 3
even-
weeks, and it's like, wait, hold on, like I don't know.
I think you can.
Yeah.
Like, Sam gave an example of that. Even me, like, like you said, there's a lot of content creators. Some of them I listen to, and I'm like, yo, I'm rolling what he's saying, and some I listen to, and it just don't resonate a certain way. So if I was a lay member and I was wherever these people are, I would go to their church because on social media, I like the vibe or whatever, and then I sit and really listen to what they're saying. Yeah, that's not right. So I think you could choose a wrong church.
But that's why it's important to pray.
Right.
And not just praying, like Pastor said, not just pray and keep talking, but to stop and listen.
Right.
Because God will direct your path.
Yes, He will.
Like, He will send you to the right church.
Yes.
You have to listen.
Yeah.
Right.
Yes.
But also to your grow point too. Like a lot of times on our churches and stuff like that, we're not reading, we're not going to Bible study. I mean, I'm stepping on my feet too because I ain't been at Bible study. But so now you thinking, and I'm not saying that I don't feel like I'm growing, but it's like you're not putting in the work.
Right.
Right.
And so if you're not putting in the work and you're not growing, it's like you just getting what. Because a lot of times in black church, a lot of times it's not. I'm not saying not word based, but it's not like one of those word churches where you're just like preaching all the time. So you get the music and you get the shouting, you get the hooping and all that stuff, and sometimes you don't get the meat of it. So it's like if you're not going to Bible study where that stuff is really being dissected, and you're not reading your Bible on your own time and stuff like that, well, of course you're not gonna get fed if you're sitting there. What are you talking about? Like drinking all the syrup, like all that, you feel me? So it's like you're not getting nutrition.
Or if you're not doing your work. If you are getting something and you're not doing your work when
What God has called you to do.
God will call you to do. It's like if you eat and then you stuff, you can't eat no more.
Can't eat
you
no
know
more.
what I'm saying? Like
That too. Yep.
you gotta do what you gotta do.
You gotta empty out.
You gotta empty. That's a fact.
But back to AJ's point, a lot of people just come to church as a routine. You come here, you get all this word, and during the week you're not really doing nothing. Now you saying you're not getting fed.
Right. To your daily life.
Exactly.
All right, so we're gonna move on. All right, so we had a little subtopic in that topic, and that is, why do you guys think going to church matters?
I
Put
feel
it like this.
Go ahead.
Yeah, let Chris. Nah, Chris, you go, because we did a lot of talking. You
No,
go.
y'all go ahead.
Okay, all
I
right.
was just gonna say-
Marissa, you got anything? I'm sorry, because she hasn't really talked
I'll
much.
let her.
No, all right. So you go after her. Think of your thing, because we want, Go ahead, babe. I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
I was just gonna say, last week
'Cause-
we talked about conduct, and I think we brought up the. Hold up.
No, I know you was talking about
So you got your thoughts together.
going to church.
Why? Yes. why it's important?
Church is important. To go
Right,
to.
right,
That's
right.
step one. Is you gotta be present.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, see, because you threw me off when you was telling them to go.
Right, everybody jumped in at the same time.
I can go. if
Go
you
ahead,
need it.
yeah.
Why does church
'cause-
matter?
So I feel like for me, it's the interpretation.
Okay.
You cannot interpret the word
Yeah, that's what it was.
alone. Like you cannot do that alone. You need to come to church so you can be able to understand it.
Yeah.
And on your terms. Like you just can't do that. And then a place of solace.
Yeah.
Like you have a chaotic week. You just need that one place where I can come and decompress,
Get that-
and
God's
get
peace.
that, like
Yeah.
get rejuvenated.
What if you got like a
the-
prayer closet or something like that where you could just sit in like in your room and meditate?
Right, but you can
but
do
you-
that, but it's nothing like being in the
Right.
house.
Yeah.
Like
What if you're an introvert?
Well, then that's your prerogative. I don't know, but
You got
No, I'm
to
saying
talk to the
seriously.
Lord.
What if you're an introvert and you don't? I mean, I know it's not really godly, but if you, not say that you don't like people, but you're kind of shy or whatever, and you kind of like being to yourself. Why is it important for me to go to church if I just want to be by
you
myself?
can't be into yourself. You can't interpret the word by yourself.
And I also think that back to
What if I'm a scholar? Like I'm good at
Nah,
that
you
stuff.
know.
Well, you don't. That's why you have a leader. Your leader helps you understand what is going on.
If I watch virtual church,
Still, that's why you have a leader.
You need someone in your community,
Right.
that
That's
you
another thing
can
for the
talk to. Now, yeah, with virtual, that kind of blurs the lines a little bit. But one thing I do, even though as a son it kind of gets on my nerves, but one thing I do appreciate about my dad is you can just go talk to him. Anybody can talk to him.
Right.
Right.
If you have a question, an issue, whatever like that, hey, his phone rings 24/7.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, people just call it, hey, this is how I feel, this is what's going on, da-da-da. I think that's important as a leader, someone that you can reach out and touch. You know what I'm saying?
What's up, Chief?
Yeah. What's up, Doc?
Right.
But like you said too, I mean, you said place of solace, but I was talking about the fellowship. I think fellowship is also very important.
Right.
Yeah,
Surrounding
absolutely.
yourself with people who are moving in the direction that you're moving in, and people that are already there.
Right. And you say that also brings back to the testimony that we talked about last week, the testimony topic. How would you be able to get through whatever you're getting through if we can't communicate those testimonies with each other and be able to encourage each other?
Yep,
Being an
encourage,
introvert, excuse
Introvert.
me, will keep you in that shell.
Yeah.
And you're not expressing, you're not releasing, you're dealing with everything internally. That's not good.
And I think that that's our job as Christians, as fellow congregants, to be gentle. You
Yeah.
know what I'm saying? That's
Yeah.
conduct. Like,
Yeah.
if
Yeah.
you see somebody that's shy, like, fam, you know, like Pastor said when we had the prayer service, don't just go to and start praying on somebody.
Right.
Ask them.
Yeah.
Ask them.
Can I pray for you?
Right.
You know what
Right.
I'm saying? Like, it's just about being gentle. It's about being kind.
My
you know,
husband
having
asked
kind-
me today. He just grabbed my arm.
Yeah, and then I
I
prayed
asked you
with
when
him
we got
too,
married.
and I didn't.
He said, I asked you when we got married.
I grabbed
That was
him. He
that was the
didn't,
consent right there.
Yeah.
But
I let him know by himself. He prayed for me and he ain't asked me.
I prayed with him.
I told him about it. So
Yeah.
Yeah, I prayed with him.
I didn't
was like,
pray.
I know, but
I was taking pictures. I was taking pictures. He just grabbed my arm, started praying. Well, all right, that's for
He
praying.
was called.
See,
Yeah.
yeah. 'Cause
I ain't
like
saying
Chris,
nothing.
it was bothering me.
I told him he was out of order.
Why would you do that?
But to that point, because I remembered what I was gonna say since you said interpretation. That's why it's important. And like I said, the Bible has some tricky words.
It does.
You know what I'm saying? And you can twist that thing up. So like by coming, you're actually getting fed the word, getting taught the word, getting an understanding of what's in the word.
Right.
So that you can apply it to your life.
Right.
Because you can't just be out here making up your own definitions. Like,
Oh, that's
Yeah.
what that means. No.
No, it's not.
it causes confusion.
How
It
to,
does.
how to rightly divide the word.
Leaders are in place for a reason.
Right.
Yeah.
You
It's
know?
like going to the gym.
Talk about it.
If you
Break that thing down, brother.
if you if you're trying to get abs, you're not gonna get abs sitting there watching Netflix.
You're not.
That's a
You're
fact.
not.
And not.
You're
You
not.
gotta go to the gym.
And trust me,
Gotta
I've
go.
tried.
You better work hard, John.
I work hard on
Work hard on that
Yes,
ass
brother.
today.
You got one big ab.
Doing it.
You got ab.
No, and then like
ab.
so like the church house is like a gym
Yeah.
for spirituality.
Yeah.
Yes, that's
So
good.
you
That's
would take
good.
that and you will work out your faith.
That's it.
Your
know,
soul's salvation.
That boy preaching, right?
You would use that.
I can't go to your church if you start one.
You would use
He said
that.
I can't leave.
You would use that to fuel your week.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So
Exactly.
you
Absolutely.
meet it again, which is gonna be next Sunday.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's just to keep going.
That's
Exactly.
why you gotta
That's
come.
why you gotta
That's why you gotta come to
You gotta
church.
come to
come
church.
to church.
church.
Yeah, for real.
But one thing
109 Butler Street, New Haven, Connecticut. New Hope Missionary Baptist Church.
46511.
But
Right.
one thing I was gonna say too, because you touched on how people like their maybe watching virtually and things like that. One thing about coming into the church building, the whole atmosphere is different than when you're at
Presence.
home. Like it's the presence is different, and also when you're at home, especially during the pandemic when a lot of people really were scared to go anywhere. You're internalizing all these things, stuff that you're going through, all of that, and you have really no one around. And sometimes when you're doing that, you may not be in a place where you can pray yourself out of that.
Right.
So you do need a different atmosphere.
Right.
And you need a set of people that are there that have the strength to pray
Intercede.
for and
Exactly.
intercede for
Exactly.
you.
Oh, damn, Pastor just
That
preached on
thing
like
is
3 weeks
important
ago.
because
Exactly.
sometimes you need that person to intercede to help pull you out that
Yeah.
thing.
Exactly.
Because you can't do it by yourself.
Seriously.
I be needing help.
And although
can't do that thing by yourself.
I do believe that God can meet you where you are.
Absolutely.
Like in
Absolutely.
whatever necessity that you have, where ailments, whatever whatever situation, I do believe he can meet you in that place, and his presence can be, peaceful.
Yeah,
and
for
all
sure.
of that stuff like you would feel in the house of God.
Yeah.
But still, it's nothing like being in the building
Sometimes
where he consistently
You
dwells.
gotta lay. Sometimes you gotta lay on that altar.
You gotta lay on that altar. It's a different vibe.
It's
Like your
different.
prayer closet is spicy. Like you know
Yeah.
what I mean? It's spicy. But that altar
It's
is
something
a
about
little
that altar.
My
different.
closet is full.
It's a different level.
It's a different level.
Because there really are some things that you need help coming out
You
of.
do.
And you
You
can't do that by yourself.
Right.
Home alone. Or surrounded by people. If you're not home alone, but surrounded by people that aren't deep like that spiritually.
Or distractions. Like,
It's
being home.
Sometimes home is a distraction.
Exactly. You in
Can't
the prayer
focus
closet, but you got your kid knocking on the door. Mommy, give me chips. It's like, yo, I'm really trying to lay this thing down here, but I can't focus. You know?
Melatonin.
Okay.
All right, we got like 5 minutes left to wrap this thing up.
Oh my
we got,
gosh. That's
I don't know if we're
good.
gonna be able to hit this in 5 minutes, but quickly, what does "come as you are" really mean?
That ain't 5 minutes.
Yeah,
We
That
can
is
make,
not a
we
five.
can make that
We
on
gotta
the
have to do a
pod if you
part
want.
two.
We got to
If
do
you
it
wanna
our
do a part
Patreon.
We gotta have
All
to do
right,
a
so
part two.
I mean,
That's
We gonna have to
There's a
make
lot of
that.
points.
you
There's
want to make that a pod? We can make that a pod.
We can make that a
That's gonna be-
pod. Y'all gonna have to come back for that because that's
We gotta break that one
we
down.
gotta
Well,
break that
There's
down.
levels of that.
all right. Well, I guess we could get out of
better
here.
be deep making these people come back now. Y'all better have it together.
Something to say.
Nuts.
Sorry, Jermaine.
All right, everybody. Thank you for coming in. Enjoy
y'all
your
next time.
nights. Catch y'all next time. Y'all don't gotta go home, but you gotta get out of here.
All
See you next
right.
week.
You got it in there.
412.
See you later.